everyone. I'm Lais, developer at Pydantic, and I'm here today with Samuel, introducing a new part of the Pydantic stack. So let's start with a little bit of context. So tell me, why did you decide to build Pydantic AI Gateway?
Well, I guess there were two things that spurred me to go and do it. One was that we saw all this usage of users using inference with Pydantic AI, but to do that, we were building the framework, the way by which they were interacting with LLMs. But before they actually got to go and use the library, they had to go and sign up for all of these different services. And so we kind of wondered if we could provide a service that would unify the inference that was provided without getting in the way and breaking the functionality. And then on the other side, on the enterprise side, I spoke to a lot of companies who were building with AI, and I had two answers only from them, and that was either we build our own gateway, it works, but it's a pain to maintain, or we're using some of the other gateway options out there, and they're incredibly buggy. And there's a particular reason. I mean, sure, everyone complains software is buggy, but there were some very specific reasons why lots of the existing kind of prior art in the gateway space is so unreliable, which I'll get to in a moment. But because of that, we decided we would kind of have a crack at building something that didn't have those problems.
Okay, so basically then, the way I see this is the two main advantages then to use the AI gateway then would be the fact that you can switch through models seamlessly,
Yep.
just with one line of code. And then also the fact that, well, since you don't do translations, then does that mean that the moment that things are released, new models or new formats are released, you can use them on Pydantic AI Gateway straight away? Is that it?
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, last week, Anthropic released their native support for structured outputs using custom grammars. We didn't have to do any work. That just worked out the box on the day because it like we're not doing anything to the request. We're just doing the auth and the token counting. Similarly, Gemini 3 came out yesterday. On that occasion, we had to go and add support. If you wanted to use our built-in providers where you're buying the inference through us, we had to go and add price support for Gemini 3, which took a few minutes, and then it would work. And it would have worked on bring your own key immediately. Because again, we're not doing anything fancy with the request body. All we have to do is know how to intercept the authentication and insert the upstream authentication and how to intercept the usage and extract the token counts to calculate the price.
But I know that there are a few more key benefits to using Pydantic AI Gateway. Do you want
Yeah.
to tell me about
So
them?
I think the first thing to say is that we support two models of buying inference. So you can either buy the inference through us. So you basically put your card in to the gateway, and then you can buy inference from OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, or Amazon Bedrock, or Groq with a Q, and we'll add more soon. Or you can go and put your own key in, and basically your own API key in, and then Gateway is currently free, and we're just doing we will use that key for the upstream. So you need to go and buy that inference, but we'll intercept and do the authentication. So you can create one API key that can connect to many different LLMs and measure cost. And I think cost is the single biggest differentiator. You can set a budget on a project level, on a user level, or even on an individual key level, and then you can set budgeting on a month, week, or day interval, or for keys, you can set a complete limit. So you can say this key has $10 behind it forever. And then you could perhaps go and share that key with someone doing a trial or something, and know that they can only ever spend those $10. On the enterprise side, observability is one of the big ads. So you can drop your Pydantic logfire write token into the gateway, and now every request that goes through it will be recorded to the gate to logfire. Um, that's a big deal for some enterprises where they don't want untrusted requests being made to LLMs. Um, and there's a whole bunch of other features that are gonna come soon. So in terms of caching of requests, which is super valuable in situations like evals. So we already have model fallback. Sorry, forgot to mention that. So if one of the models goes down, so Anthropic is a good example where we support it through three different providers, Anthropic, Google, and Bedrock. If one of them goes down for some reason, as for example Anthropic did yesterday with a Cloudflare outage, we would fall back to Google and then to Bedrock.
Now let's talk a little bit about open source because that's the backbone of Pydantic, right? So how is the Pydantic AI Gateway with open source?
Yeah, so the core of the gateway is open source under AGPL3. So we're not for the first time as a company, we're not releasing something under MIT. And I think we think it's really important that the core is open source, will allow providers to come along and implement their own auth for let's say a new model or sorry, a new provider wants to be added to the gateway, they can do that work. It also allows you as an end user to go and see how it's working. You can even host the gateway yourself locally if you or run it locally or run it on Cloudflare on your own account. You'll just need to go and fill in a TypeScript file to set the config effectively. So what is closed source and what is purely commercial is the UI for administering it, which I'll show you in a minute in a demo.
If I'm enterprise and I'm really looking for a new AI gateway solution, can I use Pydantic AI Gateway?
Yeah, absolutely. So we offer service in three ways. So you can use obviously our cloud. You can self-host it on Cloudflare, which is how we deploy it. That's probably the simplest option. You basically will give you the files and the code to run it on your own Cloudflare. The only thing it needs beyond Cloudflare is Postgres. And then if you don't want to run on Cloudflare, we also offer it as a Docker container and a Helm chart so that you can run it within your own infra if that's what you want to do.
Can you tell me a little bit more about Cloudflare Edge and how Pydantic AI Gateway doesn't add latency to requests because of the way that it was designed?
Yeah, so I think the more people use the gateway day in, day out, the more important latency is. If you are sitting in Australia, let's say, and you want to connect to an LLM provider elsewhere in Asia or also in Australia, you really don't want every one of your requests being routed through some data center on the east coast of the US. And
Mhm.
so we've set up Gateway to run at the edge. So on Cloudflare's network of 200, 300 data centers. So you're guaranteed to have a data center near you generally in the same country or in the same geographic region. And so you're able to connect to your local or relatively local LLM through a node that's local. And the first request will have to call back to the database to get information about the providers on an API key basis, but beyond that, it's cached at the edge. So the network request goes directly into Cloudflare and then to the LLM provider. And as we've seen recently with the outage that we had with Cloudflare, the very rare outage that we saw with Cloudflare yesterday, most of the big LLM providers are actually using Cloudflare themselves. And so from after it's been terminated in our gateway, it'll go through Cloudflare's internal network to the LLM provider and then ultimately to their inference. So it should add single-digit milliseconds of latency, or up to 20 milliseconds of latency in the common case.
Last question before we go for our demo is I understand Pydantic now has a collection of tools, right? Would you explain to me how those tools actually fit on a software development lifecycle?
Yeah, absolutely. So we think of the Pydantic stack, our suite of tools, as a way for developers to build with AI in the best possible way. So anyone who has gone beyond the demo knows that although it might be easy to get to a very compelling first day demo of look how good AI is, it's quite a different thing to take that through and put that into production and make it usable by end users. And so the Pydantic stack starts with the original library Pydantic validation. Then we have Pydantic AI, our agent framework, which we talked a bit about earlier. Then we have Pydantic Logfire, the observability platform for understanding what the hell this model and the rest of your application are doing. And then lastly, the newest member of the team, as it were, is Pydantic AI Gateway. And I think, Pydantic AI Gateway, even more than the others, we see a boring but necessary task that developers need a solution to where we can go and help. And so that's why we kind of added it to the set. And obviously they all work well together. Pydantic validation and AI are completely open source, and then Logfire and the gateway have open source components, but are also commercial.
And generous free tier on Logfire.
I think it's worth saying that the gateway, while it's in beta, is effectively free, as in we don't charge you for bringing your own key, and we charge you zero above the cost of the inference from the LLM model providers. We even eat the card fee at the moment. So if it would have cost you $10 on OpenAI, let's say, it should cost you $10 with us as well. In time, we will come up with a pricing model where we make some money. We obviously are a company, but for now, while it's in beta, it's completely free.
It's a really good opportunity to test it out. Bring your keys and have some fun with it. You see how the failover and the change between models actually work. Do some experimentation. Wonderful. So I think now it's time for a demo.
Let me share my screen, go to the gateway. I will log in. We have login by default with Google and GitHub. If you're enterprise, you can set up OIDC providers today, which should work, and you have a custom URL to log in. I'll log in with my account. Here I can see data about the usage of this organization, the keys that are set up. I can go and look at what providers I have configured. So you see I have the built-in providers and one non-built-in provider at the moment. These built-in providers basically become available when I have a card in, and they're the way that I can basically buy the inference through us rather than putting in my own key. But I could also add my own provider with my own API key. But to actually do some inference, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to switch to user mode. So this is the view that you would see. All admins can see this, but also if I was signed in just as a user, I would see this simplified view where it's just my API keys and my spend. I don't have any budgets set up for me, but in fact, let me do that now. I can set spending limits for those keys. So let me set a $5 a day, $10 a week, $20 a month limits. And on a key, I can set a total limit as well if I wanted to, but I'll go and create that key. So you should now be able to see Z. I'm going to copy paste that code snippet that it gave me in the browser. And I'm also going to copy the line to set the API key. So that is copied directly from the gateway code. And with that, that's all I should need to go and run this example. The main thing to note is when you're using the gateway within Pydantic AI, the only thing you need to change to get gateway to work is to put gateway slash prefix on the front of your existing model usage. So if you were using Anthropic Sonnet 4.5 in the gateway in Pydantic AI before, all you need to
Mhm.
do to start using gateway is set that API key and add gateway as a prefix. And I'll also print the result because it's not much fun doing inference and not seeing what happened. And if I now go and run that example, so we've successfully done the inference through the gateway. There
And
we go.
if I don't want to use Claude anymore, let's say I'm curious now about how, I don't know, Google Vertex or any other model is going to.
Let me try it with OpenAI 4.1. And yes, so through the same key, I've changed nothing other than the code, and you see immediately that works. Go on then, I'll try and use the Gemini provider. Uh, Gemini success. And I might just show you one other thing, which is how that looks in Logfire. And I just want to connect up the gateway to Logfire. So I'm going to come back over as an admin. I'll come to my projects, open my default project. I'm going to click edit, and I'm going to want to put in a Logfire write token here. I'm going to come
Mhm.
into Pydantic Logfire settings. I'll generate a write token here. Give that a name, copy this token, and we will make this process even easier in future, but it's actually only the process of copying one value. So we've now set that. So we come back over to Logfire, go to the live view, and off screen, I'll go and run that Gemini example one more time. And again, if the gods of demos are with us, yeah, you see immediately that request come through, and I can see the exchange with the LLM, see the cost incurred. Um, Only one request here, but go on, I'll change it back to OpenAI and do one more just to make the point. And so you can see, yeah, again, similar conversation, input and output in this case. There we are.
Perfect. Well, I think that's it.
We're going to have lots more features to come. I think we sent out an email yesterday to our existing users. We've had an amazing reception since the gateway launched. So we have a bunch of people on the platform already. We've emailed them asking them what features they want next. And this is obviously early and in active development. So follow us on socials to see what comes next.
Absolutely. Also, pydantic.dev/gateway will get you to our website. You can book a call. You can investigate what we're up to if you join our Slack as well. And yeah, loads of fun stuff coming down the pipeline.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye bye.